Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the final segment of today's show. It's now time to take a look at what Sidra Zaidi has to say for us this week.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sidra and I'm your life coach. This week we are talking about importance of goal settings, how you can apply 5 keys which I'm going to be sharing with you in your goal setting formula to get the results you want. It's commonly said that people overestimate what they're going to do in a day and underestimate what they're going to do in a lifetime because they haven't planned it properly. They haven't applied the keys which are absolutely crucial for goal setting. So the keys I'm going to share with you today for goal setting goes like this. It's a SMART formula: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. Now, for example, summer is coming up, and if you want to lose weight, most people say, oh, I want to lose weight, I want to lose weight. When you're applying the 5 keys, you want to be specific to how much you want to lose or how much specifically you want to let go of to reach your ideal weight. So you have to be specific in what actually you want. Then measurable, what are your criteria to measure that goal? So would you be weighing yourself up every week? How would you know that you are on track for that goal? Then achievable, have a target which is achievable and you know you can do this. Then realistic, it has to be realistic. For example, if you're thinking in 2 weeks you're going to lose 2 stones, that's unrealistic. So your goals should be realistic. Most people fail because they set unrealistic targets. It's about setting realistic targets. And then the last key is time bound, having a time limit. Because usually when we say, oh, I want to lose weight, I'll lose it tomorrow, I'll do this tomorrow, and they don't have a specific time scale to do that. And that actually doesn't give our subconscious mind to something to work on. So your goals has to be time bound. So five keys which are crucial for your goal setting: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So next time you write yourself a goal or plan your day, please keep these keys in mind and see the difference. How would you feel? Good luck with that. And if you want any further information, drop me an email and I would be happy to answer your email. Assalamu alaikum.
I think goal setting is so crucial in life and whatever you do, and I think if you don't end up setting yourself goals or at least having an aspiration to achieve something, then you'll kind of just end up drifting through life and not really knowing where you're going. And I think that's evident even in small things like, for example, the RE article that we were looking at earlier. If you haven't made those goals clear and you haven't, one, you don't know where you're going yourself as a teacher, or 2, the students, there's no point in, I think, to be honest, this is just my opinion, there is no point in a student turning up to a lesson if they don't know what they will have achieved by the end of that lesson or even a series of lessons. And I know, like, you know, even when I was teaching before, that was something that is constantly pressed upon us, to make sure that, you know, the students are clear of their objectives at the beginning of the lesson, what they will have achieved out of this, and also what they're going to do with it and where they're going to go. So, and that's just like in teaching. I think, you know, you must have goal setting, must be really important for you too.
Yeah, it is actually. It's very, very important. If we don't goal set, then obviously programs won't get to broadcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it's also nice when you have a checklist, because then you can just cross everything off. And you know, it depends on the environment that you're working in. I know in my experience, you're working in a very high-pressured environment, and you're usually working on a very fast turnaround. So you know, you literally have 24 hours to put something together and to do it, put it to a decent quality, and then push it out for broadcast. So, you know, so yeah, definitely goal setting is so imperative.
And like you said, even in those goals, it's important to prioritize, because you can't necessarily achieve everything, but you kind of like, I love tick lists. So it's really geeky, but I love even writing things that I've already done so I can tick them off, because it shows you actually what you've achieved, what you kind of set out to do, and what you've actually managed to do in that time as well. So yeah, really important actually. I found that really useful.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you're quite right. And actually now it's time for Fact of the Week. So, Humaira, what fact have you got for us today?
Well, as with every week, it's something completely random, but I just found it really interesting because Leonardo da Vinci, obviously very, very famous painter, did you know that he could actually paint with one hand or draw with one hand and actually write with the other at the same time?
Wow, no, I didn't know
no one really knows that, but I was just like totally baffled when I saw it, because I thought even like a normal person, right, cannot draw with one hand and write with the other. But then someone who was so talented like Leonardo da Vinci and created such amazing things from his art, he could write as well as paint at the same time.
Yeah, that means he must have had quite a his brain must have been quite powerful, because obviously the motor functions and the fact that he was able to write and then draw. I can't even just trying to do it right now. Both my hands are trying to write.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's just like that whole pat your head and do that thing. It's all about coordination, isn't it? And I think you'd have to be pretty clever to be able to coordinate all those things at one time. But then, people do say that artists who create such amazing art are basically they're geniuses, aren't they? Yeah. And I guess they are in their own right. But yeah, that was my fact of the week.
Well, yeah, that's a very interesting, fact that I absolutely didn't know. Well, it's actually time to wrap up, but just before we do, it's now time to take a look at Humaira's Ziyara video channel.
We're going now towards the ziyarat within the Holy Land of Karbala. So we're going to the first place, which is the maqam of Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu Farajah al-Sharif.
According to some narration is that Imam Sahib al-Zaman, Ajjalallahu Farajah al-Sharif, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, he appeared here once, he prayed in this particular place. So because of that barakah, blessings, we are going to say prayers where he prayed before.
Right behind me is the offshoot of the Furat known as the Alqami. I'm sure many of you have read when you've looked at the ziyarat, there's a ziyara of Alqama or Alqami, and that is a canal which is an offshoot of the Furat. When you come for the ziyara of Abu Fadl al-Abbas or of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, they say you should begin by doing ghusl in this water. I'm sure you've read in your manual it says do ghusl from the Furat. Ghusl from the Alqami section especially is very highly recommended.
We are going for the outside trip, outside Ziyara, where we are going to visit different places. They have connection with history. So actually we are going to the actual places where, for example, the hands of Abu Fadl al-Abbas were cut off.
We are gathered here at the exact place where the right hand of Abu Fadl al-Abbas was cut when he was bringing the water back to the tents. We've just been to where his right hand was cut off, and he continued riding on his horse, and he continued trying to fight the soldiers that came in his way, until it was just in this area here, which we're going to go in a few moments, that they attacked his left hand. After they attacked his left hand, obviously he's still trying to maintain himself on the horse, and it seems that the horse would have moved a little bit in this direction. So after his left hand had been cut, and after his right hand had been cut, and then the left hand got cut, it seems that he's on his horse, he's trying to hold on, and then he strikes him into his eye, and he falls from the horse, probably directly near where he is buried there. Okay, so he falls down from the horse directly with the arrow in his eye, with no hands to protect him. After that, they launched a barrage of attacks on his body, as in each one of them came on him and started to strike him. And there was one particular strike which, in a way, he couldn't really sense what was around him anymore, and that was with a bar. It seems that there was some metal bar that someone was holding, and they come and struck him on it, and from there he couldn't really sense where he was. He was flat on the ground, and it's when he reaches there that he then calls out, "Oh my brother Hussein, come and help your brother." And that was the first time he called out, "Akhi ya Hussein." In the past it was always Sayyidi Abu Abdullah. The only time in his life he called him my brother was on that time. In the past he'd call him my master Hussein. And it seems that Imam al-Hussein really comes running ferociously towards this area. They try and attack Imam al-Hussein, but he himself manages to get past them one by one. Many of them then disperse. He comes near the body of his brother in this area. And at the beginning, his brother, not sensing who it was, just says, I beg of you, just allow me to bid farewell to my brother before you attack me. Because all he can sense is footsteps. He knows there's someone around him now, but he can't. And so Abu Abdullah al-Hussein takes his head and he holds it. And he says to him, it is your brother Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. But then at that moment he says something unbelievable. He removes his head. And so he takes his head back in, and he removes his head again, takes his head back in. So he tells him, he says to him, Abu Fadl, why don't you allow me to hold your head? He said, you are holding my head now, but in a few moments who will hold your head? And truly it goes to show you, this man, until his final moments, it's unbelievable how much loyalty he shows his brother. That, okay, I'm in pain, but I cannot take the fact that in a few moments you're going to be in this situation. And that's why Imam Hussein said, truly now my back has broken. That was it. It was the most difficult moment for him when his brother fell.
We have seen where the Qamar of Bani Hashim lost his hands. And it is in these vicinities, as we have heard, that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas passed away. He attained his Shahada. Here, insha'Allah ta'ala, we are going to renew our bay'ah, our allegiance to our Imam alayhi salam by saying, please say with me, Labbaika ya Hussein. Labbaika ya Hussein. Labbaika ya Hussein. Labbaika ya Hussein. Here we are, O Hussein.
So, as always, you have a very interesting Ziarah video journal. Last week we saw you actually going around visiting the different maqamats, and one of those maqamats was Imam Mahdi alayhi salam's maqam. So, and obviously you saw the River Euphrates. This week you went, obviously the other maqamats as well, where Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam's, where his arms were severed. What was it like? Because obviously walking around there, and obviously it was, you know, retracing the whole journey, the steps. What were your thoughts? What was going through your head?
I think the first thing that hits most people is the fact that the distance between where the arms are actually cut. One, I mean, the right arm was cut, the distance between where the right arm and the left arm was cut was actually quite a distance. And then if you measure that to actually the distance to the harams as well, is a big distance. If you measure, you know, even if you compare it to everything that's going on around, they're all actually, although they're in walking distance, they are actually all very far apart at the same time. So I think, like, from where we were before, it was probably about, I don't know, a 10-minute walk to the first place where Hazrat Abbas actually had his, I think his right arm was cut first. And it's really weird because, as you saw on the footage, when you go there, there's shops like literally directly around it, streets buzzing, motorbikes, everything. And I just hadn't thought that it would be like that before I went. I thought that it would be like a separate whole, you know, like a cordoned off area, etc. That's one of the things that really hits you when you walk around, is that it is literally like life is just built around it. It's not like, you know, for example, with the harams, they're so separated off, aren't they?
Yeah.
But with everything else, like even when Ali Akbar was killed, alayhi salam, Ali Asghar, etc., they're all very much like just houses around them, and they're in narrow streets. So that's something that hit me first of all.
The distance is quite big, and you know, and you're walking, and then you sort of think, when you think that, how is the Abbas alayhi salam, and that was pretty amazing and impressive, the fact that, you know, you can still continue, you know, you're passionate, and you continue in your drive, and you want to deliver the water. I mean, you must have been, you know, obviously thinking about it, recreating it in your head. What were the emotions like?
Well, I think it's exactly like you say. It's the fact that, especially from going from where the water actually was, because before we got to where Hazrat Abbas actually had his arm cut, we were actually standing where the water was itself. So going from there and already feeling like, oh my God, you know, this is where he would have come, this is where he attempted to come anyway. And then going from there to actually where his arm was cut, it's just, like you said, it's exactly that. You just really picture his journey and what he would have faced along the way. And you know, being such a warrior that he was, he managed to, like you said, carry on even after having one arm cut. And not just the warrior, the fact that he was such a warrior, but the determination that he had in his heart. He could not bear the thought of letting down, you know, for example, Bibi Sakina or whoever, the children, the thirsty children of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So it is really difficult walking through that. And obviously, like, generally when you're in Iraq, it's like hot, isn't it? And so I know I didn't go in August or anything, but you can picture the fact that these people were thirsty as well, and you know, and so that makes it even more intense. And for me, I know, like, you know, for example, I guess everyone has a kind of closeness to a certain imam, etc. I just have so much, not that I don't have love for everyone else, but I just have so much love for Hazrat Abbas because of, he was literally like a sacrifice. Everything that he was, from the moment he was born, he was a sacrifice. And so going there was like, for me, that was a really big deal, and it always is. And you know, the distance between where the arms were and where he was actually buried is like, to think of our poor Imam Hussein having to, you know, losing his brother, losing what he classes his backbone, and then having to take him all the way over there to be buried, etc. And everything that all the women must have gone through, like Lady Zainab alayhi salam. And you think also of her, that having to see her brother, who was so beloved and so devoted and such a lion, actually cut down literally in such a horrific way. Not because, you know, if he wanted to fight, that's what I think is amazing. If he wanted to fight, he could have wiped them all out, you know, but it's just he went with the intention of getting water, and that's what makes it even more heartfelt.
Yeah, absolutely, and just shows the degree of obedience, the fact that Imam Hussein Islam gave him permission to get water and not fight. So yeah, and if he had been given permission to fight, I'm pretty sure we all know that it would have been a different story. But as always, I look forward to your Ziyarah video journal. And inshallah we can check the next part of Humaira's Ziyarah video journal next week.
Well, it's now time for us to end the show for this week. Please join us again at the same time next week, inshallah. But also, if you have any comments or suggestions or any ideas for future shows, we'd love to hear your feedback. Please email us at morningbreak@ahlulbayt.tv. But until then, we will see you at the same time next week, inshallah. From both myself and Fatima, Assalamu alaikum.
Crucial for goal setting. So the keys I'm going to share with you today for goal setting goes like this. It's just a SMART formula: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. Now, for example, summer is coming up, and if you want to lose weight, most people say, oh, I want to lose weight, I want to lose weight. When you're applying the 5 keys, you want to be specific. This week we are talking about importance of goal settings, how you can apply 5 keys which I'm going to be sharing with you in your goal setting formula to get the results you want. It's commonly said that people overestimate what they're going to do in a day and underestimate what they're going to do in a lifetime, because they haven't planned it properly. They haven't applied the keys which are absolutely
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the final segment of today's show. It's now time to take a look at what Sidra Zaidi has to say for us this week.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sidra and I'm your life coach. Specific to how much you want to lose, or how much specifically you want to let go of to reach your ideal weight. So you have to be specific in what actually you want. Then measurable. What are your criteria to measure that goal? So would you be weighing yourself up every week? How would you know that you are on track for that goal? then achievable. Have a target which is achievable and you know you can do this. Then realistic. It has to be realistic. For example, if you're thinking in 2 weeks you're going to lose 2 stones, that's unrealistic. So your goals should be realistic. Most people fail because they set unrealistic targets. It's about setting realistic targets. And then the last key is time bound, having a time limit. Because when